A door slams. The Bible opens. A child's question, Scripture's answer, and a truth that can't be unlearned. You can go, Mum says. She doesn't even look up. She's been saying this an awful lot lately. Dad stands in the doorway, his voice tight with something I don't yet have a word for. I'll be going to church on Sunday. Just come listen, Dad cajoles. Give it a chance. He starts soft, pleading. Her rejection chips away. His voice flattens, then hardens. Look at you, such a martyr. He follows behind her as she puts away the last dish, hangs the tea towel to dry. Leave me alone, Rod. Her voice breaks on his name. A door slams. That happens an awful lot, too. I make myself small on my bed under the covers and keep reading my Nancy Drew. I love the idea of a housekeeper looking after me and a father who respects my opinions. Mom has locked herself in the bathroom and is getting ready for choir practice. I've watched her enough. I know she's swiping a single blush stroke across her cheekbones and then dabbing a sample Clinique lipstick on her lips, pressing them together. She'll style her short bob, then fasten small earrings in her ears. Dad says her makeup and short hair make her look like a harlot. I try not to see it, but I do. I love her and adore the fashion sense she works hard to embody, but her sin makes me feel dirty. She takes books out of the library on what colors to wear with her skin tone and practices tying silk scarves in knots around her neck. I want her to stop so Dad doesn't take it out on me later, but I also wish I could want pretty things. The women at meeting look nothing like my mother. When we first attended, I asked Dad why they all had long hair. That's a good question. Ask the workers after meeting, he suggested, when we shake hands. Shaking hands was how every meeting closed, but on Sunday nights the ritual entailed not simply shaking hands with every person you came across, but also those of the workers who led the meeting. I'm afraid of the workers, but feel galvanized by my mission, and even enjoy the twinge of excitement at being considered grown up enough to have a good question for the workers. After I shake hands with the head worker, Dale, doing my best to address what Dad tells me is a limp wrist when we practice shaking hands at home, I pose my query. Why do all the women have long hair? Dale studies me, too long, like he's deciding whether to answer. His colorless lips don't move. He tilts his head as though he's listening for something I can't hear. He crosses bony arms across his rib cage. Why do you think they have long hair? His voice is mild. I don't know. I wait. The line behind me is patient, silent. Time stretches uncomfortably. I try again. Why? Why do they? Persistence has been a virtue in my life. Is this a test? If so, I want to pass. You'll have to think about why, Dale answers pertly. A grimace settles in his gaze. My shiny dark brown hair has been carefully cut into a bouncy bob whose ends curl under, framing my face. Mum's cousin is a hairdresser, and we see Dawn often for the fashionable short style Mum loves, that I have now too, now I'm in grade 4. Shame burns as Dale stares at me with his watery, pale blue eyes. It's clear what he thinks of my haircut, even as he refuses to explain why. I'd be hard-pressed to describe what I feel, but it's some combination of being shamed by my query and frustrated by Dale's evasion. Dad shoves at my back, and we move along the line. I forget about it until later that week when the answer arrives, not from Dale, but from the Holy Book itself. Time to read the Bible. Supper is finished, and I'm putting on my shoes at the front door. My brother's beside me, scrabbling to see who will get out first. But I'm going to play, I protest. My friends are waiting on their bikes at the end of the driveway. What's more important? The angry face that is becoming common flares. His voice is slow now, deliberate. Playing? He rolls the word in his mouth like something rotten. Rod, let them go. Mum calls wearily from the kitchen table where she is looking at the evening newspaper. My brothers, who had nearly escaped, wait. I can tell they are sorry they hadn't bolted when Dad noticed me trying to leave. Dad turns a mutinous gaze toward the kitchen and shakes his head at Mum. She doesn't catch his look, but we do. He turns back. You can make a choice, he says, his voice quiet but deadly clear. Play? He sneers the word. It's disgusting in his mouth. Or do something important. We remove our shoes and sidle into the living room. Dad puffs pride over our choice to eschew playing for what matters and pats the spot next to him for Jonathan to sit. At 2, John has no interest in spending hours indoors, reading chapter after chapter of the Bible and listening as Dad expounds on it as he sees fit. But even this precocious, active toddler has learned. I half listen as we plod along, Dad stumbling over his verses. I read ahead so I'll know when it's my turn, half watching Mum finish the paper in the adjacent room, wondering why she gave up so easily, her protest half-hearted, how things got to this point. She stands and folds the paper, smoothing it so it lays flat. She looks at us and shakes her head. Rod, let them go outside. You can mind your own business, lady, he says. It is clear he does not, in fact, consider her a lady. I'm desperate for her to do something, anything. The windows are open, allowing the breeze through as the heat of day dissipates. The shrieks and whoops of the kids on the street drift in, summoning me to outside, to the life I used to have. Mostly, our friends have stopped ringing the doorbell in the evenings, asking us to join them because we shake our heads. No, I can't, I say to whoever it is, heart twisting as I watch them leave, back down the concrete steps, down the drive to the lawn, where they pick up the bikes they've flung on their sides. They'd been curious at first, probing. Why not? But when I couldn't answer, they quit asking. I know I'm out of my mind as they pedal, forgotten in their fun. Mum looks at Dad. Something flickers across her face. Anger? Resignation? She exhales sharply, her face turning her own version of cold, and heads upstairs to watch Remington Steele. After Dad joined the Truth, he'd quickly comprehended the evils of television, been adamant we get rid of ours. Mum, however, was having none of that, or rather, none of some of it. She moved the TV into their bedroom, now spends most evenings nestled in the green velvet armchair, wrapped in an afghan crocheted by Dad's mother, while the rest of us read the Bible in the living room. Once we finish whatever chapter was assigned for Wednesday Bible study or selected by Dad as we made our way from Genesis to Revelations, he questioned us on what we'd read, asking what it meant and what we'd learned. This could go on for hours as Dad explicated ambiguous text, found hidden meaning in each word. On nights that went especially long, or perhaps evenings when Mum was simply fed up, she came downstairs fuming. That's enough, she'd say. On those nights, it was somehow clear this wasn't up for discussion. Her command would get through and Dad would assent. On those nights, it felt as though she broke a spell, snapped him out of a trance. He'd shut the Bible and say simply, "Okay, guys, time for bed." I'd leap up and escape, running upstairs and away from the death and destruction of the Old Testament. Dad loved the eye for eye justice meted out and reveled in description of punishments. My room was safe. Mum had allowed me to choose my carpet and wall colors. Bright green, densely piled carpet, pale petal pink walls, and the cheerful bedspread, its large flowers and green foliage tying everything together. 2 corner windows overlooked the field behind us, their pretty white sheer curtains swirling in the breeze. I'd read in bed, listening carefully for the sound of his feet in the hall upstairs, devouring the stories that kept me company. I was lucky. My room being at the end of the hall meant I had ample warning to hide my book and feign sleep if I heard him, but I was safe, usually, in my room, safe from whatever had rooted in his mind. That night wasn't one of those nights. He flips pages till he finds it, reads aloud, slow and deliberate. He pauses, looks up at me, then back down. Every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered dishonoureth her head, for that is even all one as if she were shaven. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. He tells me where to find the verses so I can follow along, but I'm already there. The words leap ahead of his voice. I can't believe it's there written plainly, plain as day. And it's in the New Testament too. That part matters. This isn't some old ritual from way back. It still counts, matters, and now I know. I wanted there to be another explanation, something less vague, but there wasn't. There was only ink on the page and fire creeping up my neck. Doth not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him? But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her for a covering. My face burns. I wish I could unread it, but it's there stark on fragile pages. There's no arguing semantics, no pretending I didn't see. It's clear to me now why the 2x2 women don't cut their hair. I understand the other side of this equation as well. Why Mum's hair is wrong. Why mine is. Wearing dresses? That had been a command, an instruction with which I still disagreed even as I heeded it. But the realization of my clear sin, the obvious conclusion at which I'd arrived, I had my answer, could not unknow it. It settled inside me like a stone, something small but impossibly heavy, a weight in my stomach, a tightness in my throat. Knowing my question had been answered by Scripture was something that took years to unlearn.